Today we're going to be doing a couple of things. We're going to redo my dad's work keyboard with a simple paint job and then put on some new keycaps and give them a little review at the end. So here's the keyboard he uses at work, which I gave to him exactly 1 year ago, and this is the Rosewill RK-9200 mechanical keyboard. At the very start I actually painted it lime green and was one of the first mechanical keyboards I experimented with paint. I don't have any video of it, but it was a pretty poor job. So then a few months after I painted it white, which it is here. But overall it's held up really well since it is white. It is a bit dirty, but as for the durability of it, it's been pretty strong. First step as always is to remove the keycaps. I put rubber O-rings on these keycaps since it is used in an office environment, so I won't be just chucking these into a bucket of soapy water for now like I usually do, since I need to put them on the new keycaps. And underneath are the Cherry MX red key switches, which coupled with the O-rings is probably the quietest mainstream combo you can go with. And this is by far like the cleanest used mechanical keyboard I've come across relative to the length of time it's been used. It's just super clean, so I'm only gonna do some light cleaning, and it is just family, so whatever. And taking it apart is the traditional fuse screws and some plastic tabs. And here we have the whole thing apart. I'll put the plastic bottom shell away as all I need to do is rinse that off in some water and soap. And here's the ABS plastic top shell, and I can see a few things that I moved on from. The inside edges of the shell do have quite a lot of paint on it, and this is just because I didn't put masking tape to cover it at the time, and in turn that made it harder to put the shell back on. So I learned from that and ever since have just masked off those areas. To paint it again, I have to sand it back again, so I'll be using some 240 and 180 grit wet and dry sandpaper and a little foam sanding block. I started with the 240 grit to see how it goes, and you can see the laziness I had before with the green paint underneath the white paint. The orangey mustardy colour is the primer that I used for the green paint, and the black is the original plastic. The 240 grit was taking a bit too long, so I moved up to the 180 grit paper and it was much faster. And following that, I went back to the 240 to make it more smooth, also making sure that the edges weren't too sharp and square. And again, I'm not going to go all out on this keyboard, so once I got rid of the green paint, I didn't bother to sand the primer off since it is actually filling in some gaps and dents and scratches I made when I tried to scrape off the green paint when I was painting the keyboard white. But it should stick fine since it is primer, I guess. And then after giving it a clean, it's ready to be primed. While that's drying, I can work on the keyboard itself, and this is where the keycaps come into play. I'm going to be checking out some Tai-Hao keycaps. These ones are the double shot ABS plastic keycaps and are really super popular because of the price and the range of colors they offer. But today I'm going to be using the orange, dark grey and white set. Opening the box, we get a little guide which you definitely won't need. Then we get all the 104 keycaps and a little plastic ring keycap puller. So these are ABS plastic keycaps, which are generally more cheaper than the more premium PBT keycaps. Being ABS, they're essentially the same plastic used on majority of the keyboards out there, which includes normal membrane keyboards. As said before, these are double shot, meaning that there are two pieces of plastic that are put together to create the keycap. Therefore, the legends will be super sharp and clear and will never fade away or wear away like with printed keycaps. Being two pieces, they can also achieve really high contrast combinations of colors, and also the keycaps are smooth where you can't feel the characters at all. So here's a lineup of a variety of types of keycaps, and these Tai-Hao ones are not thick by any means, and they seem pretty similar to the thicknesses of normal stock ABS keycaps that come with a normal mechanical keyboard. Compared to a cheap PBT keycap, they're also very similar in thickness, but it doesn't come close to some high quality PBT keycaps. The texture of the keycap is also pretty much the same as a typical ABS plastic keycap, so there is a texture to it, but it is quite fine and isn't as coarse as the rougher PBT keycaps. So when typing, it's really up to personal preference on whether you like a smooth or rough surface. The colors of these particular characters are quite stealthy, so from a distance they look super sleek, with an almost blank look, but when you go closer you can tell what's what, so that's fine. But obviously this will be different on what color combo you go with when purchasing these. So overall, the keycaps are exactly what you expect from ABS plastic keycaps, and are really comparable to the stock ABS caps you see everywhere in terms of typing experience, but they up their game with different colors and double shot moldings. But now back to the rest of the keyboard, and I left the primer drying for a bit, and putting it back on top actually looks great. I thought long and hard on what I could do, like if I wanted to add some more colors or stripes and whatnot, but at the end of the day, simplicity looks the cleanest and really does shine through, and adding different angles and lines would probably ruin the structure of the colors. And since I don't have any grey paint on me at the moment, and this primer grey looks amazing, I just kept it like that with just a bit of sanding and a few more light coats. This isn't how you should paint a keyboard, but once again, it is just for my dad, so I can do whatever I want in the name of experimentation. Although under some clear coat, it should be fine. Also, this time I mixed in a bit of model making matte clear coat in with my normal satin clear coat, and it made the overall job so much cleaner and smoother, and just looks so much more professional, and is probably the best finish I've ever achieved. Usually with the normal satin spray, the droplets are a bit bigger, so it creates a more textured finish, which I do like, but adding a bit of matte spray which has thinner droplets kind of flattened it out, and also made it more matte of course, so I'm just in love with this combination. And finally, I can put it back together onto the rest of the keyboard, making sure I have a soft surface underneath to prevent scratches. I did put all the rubber O-rings back in, so it's all done now. And you really just can't go wrong with grey on keyboards. It really does go with everything, and really does help the accent colours pop out more, even in comparison to a white plastic shell. And I'm really happy that I left it basic and simple, since I think that other lines and angles would have taken away from the sleekness of the look. By the way, there hasn't been any problems thus far with this Rosewill RK-9200 keyboard, so I'd say it's a pretty solid keyboard, and it looks great as well with that simple design that I love. As for the keycaps, there's just a few more things. These are not backlit keycaps, but light will still be visible if the LEDs are bright enough, and if the keycap is relatively light. Also, with the longer keycaps, it's important to really make sure they're pressed down all the way, otherwise they'll feel really mushy. But overall, they're a really good budget set of keycaps with some good variety that will match any build. So yeah, that's that. It turned out pretty much perfect in terms of execution and looks, so I'm really happy about that. I'll be coming back to that other keycap set later on a really exciting project in the future, so stay tuned for that.